Episode 86. Today we discuss the new director of player development and give an update on the top prospects in the Pirate system. You're listening to the Bucco Bantr podcast brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates, yeah, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plates, and in case after case, run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snake.
Adam, welcome back. Episode 86. I can't believe it's been 86 episodes, by the way. Some stuff to talk about. You know, we are coming off of Pirates Fest, and there's been some prospect articles dropped today. So we're going to just dive into prospect talk.
I'm excited because this is the future of Pirates baseball. I know it's usually arm heavy, but we're going to get into some bats that we think have some promise, some names that you're going to be familiar with, and some new hires. Right, Scotty? But before we get into that, a couple of house cleaning matters. The Paul Skeens card is no longer. And the jokes are all over Twitter. I feel like the Pirates cannot escape this reality that has just engulfed the organization on just being like the most out of touch, right? And that's absolutely not the case when it comes to this, because when the offer was put out by the Pirates, it was the meet Paul Skeens and 30 years of season tickets and sign baseball and go sit with Livy Dunn and go down the spring training and get a tour, go have a softball game with 30 of your best friends at PNC Park, all for an 11-year-old kid in Los Angeles, out of all places in Los Angeles, to pull the card. Just poetry in motion, man. Like, unbelievable. After the Dodgers are signing everybody, you don't think anything can get worse. You don't think the Dodgers can rip away. The city of LA can't just take away any more happiness from you in the baseball world. An 11-year-old kid pulls the Paul Skeens card.
It's kind of like our modern day economy. The rich get richer. Like, LA just keeps winning and getting more, and all the jokes are coming out like, oh, can't wait till Paul Skeens is actually ours. And I'm not laughing at that because not funny, but it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I can't believe we joked that it was going to be some kid in Iowa or North Dakota, but it ended up being in LA across the country. And the Pirates actually posted that offer again.
They posted it again. I think that's where they messed up, right? I think at first it was great content. It was topical. You go do that, everybody's talking about it. But it's been a minute since Topps Chrome came out. I mean, we pulled a box when it was like relatively cheap, right? We did it on our channel, and I think we paid $300 for a hobby box.
Yeah.
And now it's like $1,000 for that same box. So hopefully that goes down in price and everybody can go back to enjoying affordable baseball cards to a certain extent. But posting it again after you know an 11-year-old from Los Angeles won it like that offer has zero value. Also, what 11-year-old has 30 friends that are going to play? Like, it's, you know what I mean? Is he going to go sit with Livy Dunn at a game?
He probably would do that. Yeah.
That's probably the best offer out of, like, let's be real, for an 11-year-old kid in that generation who's probably doom scrolling on TikTok. The Livy Dunn offer is probably significantly better than everything on that list that the Pirates put.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would, if I was that kid's parents, if I was his father, I would install a world-class security system on my house. I would make sure that the house is fully secure, like locked. I would go into like doomsday mode, honestly. And I would get as much money for that card as possible, like ASAP.
I agree, man. That's what I was going to say. Sell the card now. Like, it's at an all-time high. Some stupid idiot's going to pay way too much money for that card. Way too much money. And that kid's going to have a very, very good early adult life when he's able to access that money. Hopefully he's got a good family who doesn't screw him over. Yeah, college to pay for. He's got his first car. He's got some spending money, some walking around money.
I might run away from home.
Yeah, for 11 years old, he's ready. He's ready. He's just got like a little knapsack with a Paul Skeens card in it, ready to go explore the world, get the highest offer he can get. I'm glad it's found. It was getting, I think it was dragging on for too long, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. And we don't have to worry about people joking around that the Pirates' biggest offer was to an 11-year-old boy in Los Angeles.
I saw so many of those tweets today. I'm like, all right, guys, let's I'm ready for the season start. Like, let's move on.
I think that was the overall feel. It's just like, let's just get past this. Let's focus on baseball. And there is baseball to talk about. A couple other news items around the league, not necessarily player related, but something that was also viral on Twitter that I wanted to touch on. The Birdland value menu. We talked about improvements around baseball and the fan experience. The Orioles are killing it right now when it comes to this. They installed a Birdland value menu, which is essentially a family-friendly menu. It doesn't look like anything's more than $7 on it, including beer.
Yeah. So, seltzers are for $5. Like, oh
talk about a good time. Like, this would have
Can you imagine $5 Topo Chicos? We would die.
That, or we'd be significantly better off in the pockets than we are now, because the amount of money that we spent at PNC Park last summer has to be egregious. I don't even want to like, if I actually do the math, it will make me very sad.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
It'll make me very sad, to the point where I'm like, should I start packing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to go to the park next year?
Or it's just like, what is chicken Alfredo in a bag, dude? Come on.
Yeah, we're about to start bringing pasta in a bag to the park. Like, it's good for the game. Let's just say that more people should be doing this. I know Atlanta
Falcons, Arthur Blank, he does this too in their stadium, which is cool because it's a brand new stadium and it's beautiful. He's big on this. I wish more owners and teams will follow suit here. And also, it doesn't help or doesn't hurt that Camden Yards, me and you have gone together. A couple of years ago, we saw Mitch Keller throw 14 chairs. No big deal. It's, for me, I've been to 20 ballparks so far. It's top 3 for me. Camden Yards is an incredible game day experience. It was built in the same era, sorta, as PNC Park, and it's stunning. I highly recommend, if you have not been to Camden Yards, absolutely go.
We'll definitely have to do maybe a stadium review of our top favorite parks coming soon. We're going to hit a lot this year. I already know like 3 right off the top of the dome that I'm going to, and I'm sure we're going to mix in a couple spontaneous trips here and there. But if you haven't been to Camden Yards and you live in Pittsburgh, pretty easy trip to go there and back for a short weekend. If I remember correctly, the ticket wasn't very pricey.
No. We were sitting down the third baseline, like 3-4 rows up, like not bad.
And we had the Maryland dog.
Oh my God, with like crab meat and like Old Bay seasoning or something like that.
And it had like crispy onions on it or some of that nature.
Crispy chip like that you put on salads.
Right.
Kind of like wonton noodles, whatever.
It was good. It was good. It would have been better if I wasn't violently hungover that morning. And
Don Tito's, ladies and gentlemen, Don Tito's. That's all you need to know.
I don't want to get into a rant about how I feel about the Nationals Stadium. That place was real quick. That place sucks, dude. I'll put it out there. Like, the Nationals, I think they got a lot going on in their organization that's positive in terms of development and what their roster is going to look like in 2025 and beyond. That stadium sucks. I'm sorry. It's terrible.
Did you enjoy? I thought the bullpen was a cool concept, like the bar area outside of left field, because I think PNC is going to have that by the start of this season across from home plate.
I love that.
I think that's a really cool concept. Other than that, that was like the highlight of our time at Nationals Park.
I think that's the general consensus, man. I can't remember who I was talking to the other day. It might have just been at work, and we were talking ball, and somebody said they went to DC for a game last year. And I said, what do you think about it? Because I didn't want to come out hot and be like, that place is the worst place on planet Earth.
It's the worst place I've ever been to.
They said, I really liked my pregame experience. And then they just left it at that. And I was like, that says wonders. Like, and you'd think enough people would probably say that, or at least think that, where they would make some adjustments to the stadium, because it's just not unique at all.
Yeah. I forget the name of the district, but
Shipyard. The
Shipyard district. Yep. My brother lives in DC, and he told me, like, yeah, that's not like, it's like kind of like overrated and overpriced. Like, they gentrified the hell out of that area. And
oh, for sure.
You know, it used to be like a really bad part of DC, and now it's, you know, a lot of like expensive apartments and stuff like that. So I don't know, not too much on the Nationals. I don't want to go into that, but I do want to say that the Orioles value menu, great idea. And I hope that the rest of the league follows suit there.
They won't.
They won't. Can you imagine? I said this in our group chat today. Can you imagine when we do our soggy food reviews? Little sneak peek. Ordering from value menu, that'll be extremely cost effective for us, for content wise.
Yeah, I don't have
We're gonna have to write that all off next year anyway.
Yeah, a $13 Permanente sandwich soaked in rainwater compared to like a $4 sandwich. Sign me up, man. Sign me up. Well, Scott, let's talk ball, brother. The Pirates made a new hire, a long-awaited one. Why don't you get us into that to begin?
Yeah. So as you guys know, the one last position that they're waiting to fill is the farm director. It's known as the farm director across the league, but some people call it the director of player development or the director of coaching and player development. That's what the Pirates call it. John Baker held that position since 2020. John Baker was moved to become the director of the performance team. And this is a position similar to what he held with the Cubs. He was a former catcher. He played in the league. I've heard good things about him in that arena where he's really good with the mental skill stuff. So the director of performance handles strength and conditioning, nutrition, mental skills, and sports science. So that's what John Baker will be doing now. They elevated Michael Chernow to the director of coaching and player development to replace John Baker. He had served as John Baker's assistant the last 3 seasons. I believe he came over from Cleveland. So you bring over a guy from the Guardians organization, I feel like that's a good bet. Guardians, Dodgers, Rays. So, you know, interested to see the impact that Chernow has on the development of these, especially the bats. I think that's something that's going to be watched this year because they've been able to develop arms and draft arms and scout arms, but it's the bats that they need to make progress on. And I'm interested to see the changes that he makes. We're not going to see that in a year, just so you know. Like these changes, it's funny that we're in year 6 of this rebuild or year 5 of this, this regime, and we're now making these changes because typically these changes take a couple of years to see the full impact. So we have a new director of player development.
Better late than never. Speaking of the Guardians, they just signed Paul Sewald to a 1-year, $7 million deal, $1 million signing bonus, $5 million salary with a $1 million buyout, or a $10 million salary for 2026. So the Guardians continue to make moves in a similar market to the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Well, that's because the Dodgers didn't have enough roster spaces to sign Sewald.
Right. I mean, that aside, if it wasn't for that, the whole league would just be out of luck. And then some other news before we get into some prospects. Our buddy Ryder Ryan is all the way back, baby.
Do you know what I'm going to say? Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Let's ride. From Indianapolis to Pittsburgh, back to
snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. My buddy is racking up all the miles. Are we doing another Ryder Ryan hype video this year? Because we did that.
We did that, and we're doing it again.
Oh, I cannot wait for him to make the opening day roster. I am so excited for that. And then Andrew McCutchen finally added to the 40-man roster.
Nice.
So not much of what you didn't know already.
He was a good time at Pirates Fest, I will say.
He was. He was also a good sport.
Yeah, he was, for sure.
A very good sport. And then on the note of prospects, we're going to get into the top 15. We're going to get into Baseball America, but Josiah Seitler, first base prospect who was in high A Greensboro for the Pirates, who was once a promising bat for the Buccos, has retired voluntarily. Kind of a surprise, Scotty, until I saw his Instagram post on maybe the reasoning behind it. And I didn't realize what this guy has gone through in the past 5 years in terms of his health. It's been surgery after surgery after surgery after surgery. I think it was like 5 surgeries in a row where it's like, at that point, you got to figure something else out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad to see, man. But, best of luck to him. I know he had a lot of believers in the Pirates community, and he got up to Greensboro last year, had a solid year. But, when you go through that many injuries and that many surgeries, it's tough on you mentally. So
he killed in the Florida State League.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. He hit 516, 563, 891 with a 1454 OPS. Like, like crushed it, man. And then when he got to high A, it kind of dropped off a little bit. He still had some power, but just another bat that's not in the system anymore. Not that it was anything on like the top 100 list or even the Pirates top list, but not retaining another guy that plays a pretty prominent position that you've been looking for years.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Speaking of prospects, though, should we get into it? Do you want to talk about Baseball America first?
Real quick, Baseball America came out with their new top 100. We saw 3 Buccos on it. No surprises here. Maybe a little bit of, I wouldn't say surprise, but maybe a concern for some. Chandler, obviously, at number 7. Connor Griffin at 57. And then Thomas Harrington at 74. No Tremar Johnson on this list. Does that surprise you, or are you concerned about that? After last year, he had a decent fall. This is one of the top bats in the Pirates system.
I'm not super concerned yet because he started playing at high A last year, Greensboro, at age 19. So he was young for the level, and he got up to double A. I think this is going to be a big year for Tremar. I really do. I know there was like some concern, and we'll get into Tremar when we talk about the top 15 prospects published by Just Baseball, our network. But I think he's still ahead of schedule. And I think the Arizona Fall League was definitely a promising sign for his development. So
I agree. I wasn't shocked by it. I'll tell you that. It seems like it's kind of been on that trajectory, but he's been punching up pretty much his whole career. Right. Mm-hmm. He's still very young, very promising. He's become kind of more of a power over contact guy, which I think might have been the opposite of what they were thinking going into drafting him as a more polished bat out of high school. But like you said, we'll get into that a little bit. Let's start off with the top 15, starting at 15 of Just Baseball's top prospects, left-handed pitcher Anthony Solometo.
Yeah.
Disappointing year. This was once a pitcher that we thought could potentially be a high riser, could finish in AAA. He was already in AA as a guy out of high school. Didn't spend much time at the lower levels. Had a lot of great stuff. We've compared him to Bumgarner-esque delivery, a lot of funk, but the velo dropped significantly where he wasn't even breaking 89 miles per hour. And we've mentioned it a lot when we saw him on the complex, and he was bad after getting back from that flu. It just never really picked up after that.
Yeah, I think if he can get back to that 92, 93 range with that delivery and that slider, I think he can be extremely effective. I think he's going to repeat AA next year. While we go through these guys, we're going to try to predict where they're going to be. I think he's going to repeat AA next year, and I think it'll be a good, restart for him. I think, obviously we saw him in Bradenton, like you said, at the complex, and it was after he came off that flu bug that ran through the clubhouse. He looked bad. And he looked sick. Like, he didn't look right. And he definitely, you wonder, like, fitness wise, is there projection in there left? Because he's not like a big dude. Like, he's like maybe like he's 6'2" or 6'1", but like he's wiry, if you will. And you
long limbs.
long limbs. You wonder if there's some projection left in that body physically that can, like, increase the stamina, because it definitely, it definitely showed up last year. Like, he was fatigued and he was on a developmental list. Hopefully last year was an outlier and we can get to see him, regain form this year, because he was a promising arm in that draft.
If he gets back up to that 92, 93,
he can live in that range.
It's untouchable. It's too weird for hitters to pick up.
Yeah.
And I think we got a unique perspective of it last year, because we were pretty much sitting in the Orioles dugout. Like,
Billy Cook was there.
Billy Cook was there. Like, we could reach our hand out and like just like tap a guy on the back of the head. Like, it was
Enrique Bradfield. What's up, dude?
Yeah, we were straight up in the dugout, and these guys are coming back in after facing him and like, oh, it's audibly saying, you don't have anything to worry about. Arm side fastball, no movement. Like, here's what to expect. Like, they were on it. They had him to a T, and he could not get out of an inning.
Pretty sure we heard them come in the dugouts, like saying like they're picking up on like him tipping. I don't know if necessarily like tipping, but they were noticing like some habits of his on the mound. So,
hopefully they can get by that, but still a lot of promise. Not ready to give up on Solo, but Scott, let's go to 14 here.
Yeah, let's go to 14. We got a really fun arm, right-hand pitcher, David Matoma. He is one of our signings from Africa. He's from Uganda. And we talked about him a little bit last year. We talked to him about him. One of our first interviews was with Eric Garfield. He covers Orioles system, but they're close to Bradenton, so he sees a lot of the Pirates. Yeah, he spoke highly of this kid. I mean, he's 6 foot, like 165, and he's touching 100. He can sit upper 90s with the fastball. I think this year, we're going to see him in Bradenton at the low A level. He's still only 18. I think he turns 19 in a couple weeks. And he continues to cut down on the walks, filling up the zone and improving that slider, getting more feel for spin. This guy signed for $20,000. Like, this is like a big hit. If he's a top 15 prospect right now, this is a big hit for the Pirates. And I think he's got the projection to be a high leverage reliever. He's far away, but like, this is a guy that you can be excited about in 4 years.
I think the projection is a reliever, right? I don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of time to tell, but a guy touching 100 miles per hour at that build, there's a lot to dream on there. I think if he improves on the secondaries a little bit, it's going to be incredible. And they've obviously tapped into something in the Ugandan market, which
you got Mahuzi recently. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Someone I'm really looking forward to seeing a full year in Bradenton next year, just getting that under a year of professional baseball under his belt, consistently coming into games in high leverage situations, maybe getting stretched out a little bit to get a feel for what needs to be worked on as he matures. But I'm glad that he's on this list. It kind of drops off after like it's like all over the place after 10, right? Like, you really don't know where it's going to go outside of like the top guys. So Matoma being on this list, it doesn't surprise me that Just Baseball put him there, but it's 10 through 15. It's like it could be anybody. There's a lot of people that we could have plugged in there outside of these guys that we're about to mention.
Sure. You want to take us to 13?
13's a guy we've talked about a lot. Sungshae Sheng is a utility guy who finished the year in Indianapolis last year. Spent a lot of time in Altoona, plus runner, a lot of poolside power, average bat to ball. He projects as a fourth infielder type. You know what I mean? Like, if he could maybe play outfield, like, he's a utility guy. There's not much else there that's going to bring him to the next level outside of his defense and his speed. Kind of like guys like Ji-Won Bae, how they stay at the major league. You wonder how they stay at the major league level. Like, it's because they provide value in certain areas that others don't, namely utility guys that can play multiple positions. I think the difference though here is he could play a really solid shortstop.
Yeah.
He could play a really solid second base. Like, the glove plays and he's going to take bags. Like, that's going to happen, but you can't steal first base, so like, it's a matter of how that bat projects, if it's going to actually work him through the system, or else I see him being like a late September call up if nothing's in the cards for the Pirates to maybe get some experience. It's just, it is what it is at this point with Sung-Jae Chang. Like, you're not going to get tremendous power. You're not going to really get like gap to gap slugging. You'll get decent contact, and you'll get a guy that's going to run a ton.
Yeah, this is the only issue that I had with this list. And shout out to Jack and Aram, because I think they did a tremendous job with this list, and their episode, we'll plug it in our episode description, was great. But I would have had someone else here. I would have like, I think I'm very high on Johnny Severino this year.
Yeah.
And I think the projections, just the ceiling is way higher. I think Sung-Jae Chang, like, maybe they put him here because of the limited risk. Like, what he is. Like, he could probably be a utility guy in MLB right now. He's going to be in Indianapolis this year. He's going to steal some bags. He's going to have a little bit of pull side power. Like, he doesn't have, like, it's not like he has zero pop. And he can play a really good infield, but I don't see him being an everyday player. And he, like you said, he is what he is. So I don't think there's too much more to say about him.
I agree with Severino, man. And I think, like,
I put Severino in my top 10. I'm not even, I'm so high on him.
That was a great trade for the Pirates to swap out half a season of Carlos Santana that's already on a 1-year deal to get a highly touted international free agent that for the Brewers that signed a 7-figure deal. This guy has a ton of potential, and I mean, you're going to see him in low A probably all of next year, but I think there's potential there if he could go to Greensboro. Yeah,
eventually. Yeah. He's still really young.
Yeah, he could play short. He could play third base. He has a ton of power with speed. I think that's someone I probably would have had on this list, if not maybe at the bottom of the 15. It doesn't necessarily need to be 13, but I agree with that. I think I have seen enough of Sung-Jae Chang right now where I know it's like, all right, it's kind of disappointing that he is on the Pirates list.
Alrighty, let's go to number 12. We've got Jack Brannigan, who we met at Pirates Fest. And this dude is gifted physically. Like, he's a big dude, bigger than you'd think, bigger than you'd probably think seeing him on the MILB TV screen if you watch those streams. But this is a guy that I'm excited about because I think he's got like a very wide range of possibilities. Like, if hitting didn't work out, like, he could be on the mound and throw upper 90s. He's got a rocket for an arm, insane tools, insane. The batted ball data is crazy. Like, the exit velos, this dude had a 27% ground ball rate last year. Like, he elevates the ball very consistently. So if he makes enough contact, he's going to run into 20 plus home run power. But that's the question.
He's a 3 true outcome guy, right?
Easily.
Home run, strikeout, walk. Anytime the field's not going to be in play, it's when Jack Brannigan is up to bat. So I like the ceiling here as like a 20 home run type of guy. I think he stays in a corner, just given that, I mean, hopefully it would be third base. That the arm is.
He can play shortstop too, though, like in a pinch, like for a game or two.
Yeah, I just don't see him like elevating through the system as a shortstop. Although, like, I like guys that can play that side of the infield because it just shows elite athleticism. But with him, like, and how he projects with the bat, and I don't want to pigeonhole guys based on their projections on offense, but I'd like to see him stay in a corner and utilize that arm, namely third base. But I like Brannigan. I think, like you said, he could always fall back on that arm because he was thrown, like 98 off the mound at Notre Dame?
Yeah. And he's an above average runner too. Like, this guy's just a gifted athlete. And he's like one of the more exciting athletes in this entire system, to be completely honest with you. So
I was really impressed with him last year when we saw him in the spring breakout game and just at Major League.
Did he get a home run in that game?
I think he did.
Yeah, I think he did. So
I think he did. He also might have went deep when they played the Yankees at
Yes.
George Steinbrenner. So
We
like
saw him go deep twice that weekend.
yeah, there's a ton of power there. There's a lot to dream on with Jack Brannigan. I'd hope we see him more in Altoona next year.
Yeah, I think he gets to Altoona regardless next year. Whether he starts there or not, I'm not sure, but I think he's definitely going to be in Altoona at some point.
100%. Let's go to one of the more intriguing ones, Scotty. And this is someone that we've brought up on this podcast quite a bit, just because he is a unique individual when it comes to pretty much everything that he does on the mound. That's Xander Meath, who got some time in low A last year. Xander Meath is a 6'6", 200-pound right-handed pitcher out of high school. Number 67th overall.
Too. Like he's a big dude.
He's large. He's lanky. He's got
Looks
long
Thor,
limbs.
like
yeah. It's all over the place, but it all comes together. 93, 95. He's got a lot of horizontal run. I think his stuff can play. Like this could be a guy where we look at and almost like a Bubba Chandler, how he rises through the system out of high school. It's not going to take much time for him to figure it out if he's able to get in the zone a little bit more with his command. But a 6'6" teenager who throws like this and projects as he does, I wouldn't be surprised if Xander Meath is a top 5 prospect next year for the Pirates.
Yeah, I think he's got a really high ceiling too. He's kind of like in that Jack Brannigan mold, but on the mound. I think he gives me like Tanner Houck vibes for the Red Sox. He's got this funky delivery where he's got this extreme horizontal movement on his fastball and on all his pitches because he comes from this funky arm slot. He struggles with his command, dude, and he's still young. So like I'm not worried about the command and stuff like that. Like he's really young and he's got the stuff. The command can be finesse throughout the system, but he struggles with it due to the movement on his ball, the extreme movement, and his long levers. Like he's 6'6", 200. Can he get to a point where he can consistently get to the same release point or close to the same release point? Because that's what dictates whether you can be not necessarily a starter, but like whether you can live in the zone enough to be a starter. He's got like, he kind of reminds me of like Adam Ottavino. Have you ever watched Adam Ottavino pitch?
Yeah.
Like this dude has so much horizontal movement on his ball. Like it's like hard to be, accurate in the zone or like to have like plus command because the ball just moves so much. It's like a Frisbee. So I think he's young enough and he's a project, but the ceiling is high. And I'm really excited to see him. I think he probably stays in Bradenton next year, given his age and the development that's required.
Yeah, like I said, if you can get in the zone a lot more, it's scary hours for facing Xander Meath. Let's fly through the next couple, Scotty. We got Mike Burrows, who we saw at the very end of last year make his debut, coming back from Tommy John surgery. I like Mike Burrows a lot. Whether or not he's able to break into a rotation role is going to depend on how things play out this year. But I think there's a spot on this major league roster for him regardless. And I think that comes out of the pen and possibly like a 7th, 8th inning role where you can get like a ground ball, good changeup guy over the top delivery. His secondaries are plus pitches. Right. So if you could plug him in at the end of a rotation, I think you get a ton of value out of Mike Burrows. Does he have stuff that could potentially be a back of the end rotation guy? I think so. But coming off of Tommy John, you might want to be a little bit more careful with him, limit the innings and utilize him for this immediate roster in 2025.
I think so too. And I'll be quick on Burrows because we're going to fly through these next 10. But I just want to say too that, we see all these relievers flying off the board, like AJ Minter, like Paul Sewald, like all these guys that we're talking about that the Pirates could sign. But they have arms that could really benefit this team right now. Like Mike Burrows, if you put him in a bullpen role, like that stuff plays up big time, right? So like you said, the over-the-top release creates a lot of vertical action on the fastball, creates a lot of swing and miss at the top of the zone. Like he's a analytical darling, if you will, in the pitching world. And that allows his changeup to play up because, the fastball is getting a lot of ride at the top zone and he can drop that changeup in. And he's got to probably like a back end rotation piece ceiling, but if he were in a 7th, 8th inning role, like I think he'd be nearly unhittable. Let's go to Levi Sterling at number 9. Okay, this is a guy that was the 2nd pick in last year's draft. He played with Connor Griffin on Team USA, as we learned in our interview with Connor Griffin. I think he probably stays on the complex, maybe get some innings in Bradenton this year. But, I mean, this is another guy that is really exciting because he's 6'5", 200, man. He's got an easy, smooth delivery. He's up to 95. He sits in the 91 and 94 range. Plus feel for a changeup. That's something that can't be taught. They're going to try to develop some feel for spin this year, but I think this is a guy that you should be really excited about because the foundation is there.
100%. Let's go to Hunter Bucco at number 8, left-handed pitcher who, quite frankly, I think is knocking on the door for 2025. He's coming off of some injury-ridden years. This is somebody who had first-round projection out of Florida and just has struggled with staying healthy. But when we see him out there and it's working, you're sitting around 94 miles per hour. The delivery helps with a lot of the secondary pitches. He fills up the zone with strikes. I'm not worried about left-handed starting pitching if he's able to stay healthy. This is somebody who we were high on last year outside of Solometo going into the year. We're like, well, it doesn't seem like many people are focusing on Bucco right now because Solometo is coming off of such a great year. He was a high riser. Bucco was struggling with injuries. He didn't finish the year last year, Bucco. He didn't pitch in the AFL, but I think you're just hoping that he stays healthy going into 2025. We see him in AAA, and then maybe at the back end of 2025, he gets an opportunity if he's able to just stay available.
Yeah, 100%. I think he probably gets through AAA this year. He's got a lot of similarities to Nick Lodolo, Sean Manaea with that crossbody delivery. He fills up the zone. He's definitely a starter, and I'm excited for him. Let's go to Wyatt Sanford, number 7. This is a guy that was drafted this year, the 3rd pick in this year's draft. He's a shortstop. I think he'll probably be on the complex. He's a toolsy infielder. This is like a guy that the Pirates love. Like they went out of that range this year and took Connor Griffin, number 1 overall, the guy that has a high ceiling, superstar potential. And then they took a Wyatt Sanford, who is like their normal pick, like the toolsy guy, the safe pick. His swing is pretty smooth. It's refined for a high school bat. He needs to get that lower half more involved. I think he's got 15 plus homer potential if he does. If not, he's just like a Alika Williams, plus defender at shortstop, maybe plus runner, maybe a utility player, but that's about it. But I think he's young enough and he's got projection to have a higher ceiling and more possibilities there going down the road.
You're hoping on development.
Yep.
You're hoping the Pirates can develop one bat.
Yeah, exactly.
And, a high school kid. I like this pick. I think he, like you said, he stays at shortstop here, but it's just a matter of whether or not he can not be an Alika Williams and actually be a productive offensive player. Let's get into the meat of it, Scott.
I'm excited.
Here's where we really start talking. Let's go into Braxton Ashcraft, who could have potentially been on this team last year if he would have stayed healthy. He's had forearm issues. It's kind of been the health concerns throughout his entire career, but the stuff is plus. Above average fastball, plus slider and curve. He could be a high leverage guy, 8th, 9th inning guy right now. And I think ultimately that's where he finds himself in 2025 if he's able to make his debut. I think they project him to be a starting pitcher, and he has the stuff to do it, but it's the injury history, right? You see the value of starting pitchers nowadays. You hope you can get something like that out of a guy with all the promise that he has, but you might be able to better utilize him coming out of the pen with the stuff that he has.
This is another guy that reminds me, like going back to Mike Burrows, where I said, all these names are coming off the board, the relievers. Like this is a guy that you could put in your pen right now and it makes your pen better. Like this is an improvement. This is an addition, kind of like signing a free agent, but for a lot cheaper. And what I think Pittsburgh would love about him, I heard Jack say it on the call up. He pitches like Jared Jones. He pitches pissed. Like we have a lot of guys that pitch pissed. Like we have Carmen Majinski, we have Jared Jones. Like we have Pittsburgh has a history of these guys that are just like very emotional on the mound, like an AJ Burnett, Garrett Cole. And, you know, the health concerns are real. And in his career high last year was 73 innings pitched. So like, you can develop him as a starter long-term, but like, let's get him in the pen, like on opening day next year. Cause I think he's got the stuff, the above average fastball, the plus slider and the curve to be on a major league roster right now.
100%. 100%. Why don't you go to number 5, Scotty?
Number 5, Termarr Johnson. Like I said earlier when we talked about him, I think he's still young for his age. I think he goes back to Altoona to start the season. You know, this is a guy that, you know, he's a top bat in the system. He was a number 4 overall pick a couple years ago. He loves to catch that ball out in front. And usually guys that do that have to make early swing decisions. But he's super selective. He's outside of the normal guy that likes to catch the ball out in front, right? He's super selective and he's got like plus plate discipline. Like he sees the ball very well. But you know, the whiffs went down a little bit. They're still a little bit higher than you'd like. He's got extreme bat speed. I think, and maybe this contradicts what you said earlier, I think he sold his power for contact last year because I think he was trying to you know, get on base more and see the ball further into the zone. But I think, you know, if he ends up being this like Max Muncy-esque player where he's like this walk and slug projection guy, I like that's a really good outcome. I think he could do more than that, but I think that would be that's the trend that he's going right now.
I don't want to say like, I know like he was trying to make those adjustments, but I just think that's what his game has developed in outside of what the Pirates thought they were getting in the high school bat in that draft, right? Because there has been a lot more power than hitting for average, hitting for contact, maybe until this year where he was trying to sell out a little bit more and be a little bit more disciplined at the plate. But if he's able to spread the ball to all fields, I love what Termarr can do. I think there's positional disadvantages with Termarr being at the stature that he's at, maybe only playing on the right side of the infield. Maybe he could learn to play a corner outfield position. I think that might help his development a little bit, especially with the bat. Could he play some third base? Like, I don't know. I don't think he could be a shortstop, and I hope he could finish the year out in Indianapolis next year. I hope it's not a whole year of Altoona. I think he continues to punch up, but I'm not ready to give up on. I know a lot of people are ready to give up on Termarr Johnson or looking for trade opportunities to package him, which I'm not ruling out, but I also think there's still a lot to love with his game here.
Sure. Absolutely.
Nick York. This was someone that is ranked 4 as a utility guy, obviously finished the year with the big league club. Got him from Boston for Quinn Priester last year. There was a lot to write off on Nick York last year. He doesn't have the arm strength. Like, where does he play? He's average speed, average bat. I think he finished the year pretty like above expectations, right? Obviously, the Pirates love their guys with position versatility. Nick York, like, hear me out here, Scott. The guys at Just Baseball were talking about it. Like, he could play probably a decent right field, if not above average right field. I don't think the arm issues are as bad as people thought they were. I don't think he's pigeonholed to play second base right now. If Nick Gonzalez stays over there and you want a guy like Nick York to be on this team and he's able to hit the ball as hard as he was able to at the end of last year, he could be a good right fielder if he's able to keep adjusting and make defensive improvements. He already gets pretty decent reads on the ball out there. Talk about versatility and loving guys like this. He could play all over, but if you're looking for a right fielder right now and it's not happening in free agency and you're looking for platoon options and you want a guy out there that can make a lot of contact, which seems like that's the direction that they're going in, Nick York could also be another option that we're not talking about.
I'm a big fan of Nick York this year. I'm really excited. I think the further that he had a shoulder surgery his senior year of high school that took him out of like, the senior circuit, the perfect game stuff, like the high school prospect rankings. And he was drafted like in the mid-teens by Boston. Everyone was like, who is this guy? Well, he was a legitimate prospect. And the further away he gets from that surgery, the better he has become. His arm, his above average speed on the bases, his defense have improved steadily as he gets further and further away from that surgery. Like, if you asked me a year ago, or if you asked a prospect guy a year ago, no way he plays third base. But like, people are thinking that he could play a third base in a pinch. He could play a shortstop in a pinch. He did it a couple times in Indianapolis. So I think this is an extreme weapon that the Pirates have this year, is that they have guys like him, Billy Cook, and others like Jared Triolo that can play everywhere at any time. And it's going to be a weapon. I'm telling you.
We got a lot of guys that can play everywhere, but we still got a lot of holes.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Let's go to number 3. Thomas Harrington comes in at number 3. I think he starts the year at AAA. I feel like that's fairly obvious, unless he like absolutely becomes Nolan Ryan in spring training. He is another guy like, like Mike Burrows, like other arms in the system that create a ton of vertical action. I love that they're targeting guys like this, because that low release, that high carry, that creates a lot of swing and miss at the top of the zone. It's like, I remember Marco Estrada being the poster boy for that back in the day. His fastball would touch at like 89, but he'd get swing and misses at the top of the zone because of that high vertical action on his fastball. He's got plus command of 3 above average pitches. His fastball, his changeup, his slider. He's one of the best command arms in the system. He kind of like, to me, he kind of feels like Shane Bieber-ish.
Okay. I see that.
And I like, not like mechanic wise, but like this, like everything I've heard about him, I've read about him, the plus command, the high vertical action, it reeks of Shane Bieber. And I think he's going to be a really good, a really good piece to this rotation at some point this year. He's definitely going to hit the major leagues, but he's definitely going to, I think he's absolutely going to start AAA.
I was going to wait to get into this until, I think you can kind of predict who's left on this list, but something that Jack and Ara mentioned, which I think rings true, is the Pirates definitely value pitchers who were position players, two-way guys.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You look at this list, Paul Skeens was a catcher at Air Force. He could swing the bat. Bubba obviously was a two-way guy that they drafted, multi-sport athlete. Jared Jones was going to college for both.
He was going to go to Texas to hit and pitch.
Right. Thomas Harrington went into college as a shortstop.
He actually was going in as a shortstop primarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connor Griffin was a pitcher, was probably his team's best pitcher, pumping up to 96 miles per hour. There's a lot to say when you have like that type of athleticism coming off the mound. I think it just plays to like the mentality of it, and also the development aspect of it too, just being an athlete and being able to have a better understanding for the game.
I will say my scouting mind, like in my past life, like I love like looking at guys that played multi-sports. Like I always bet on those guys because I think they're able to adjust mechanically and in game better than others. Like not always, but like these guys, like the guys that play multi-sports, we talked about this with Connor Griffin. You use different muscles for different movements and especially in different sports. And, sports specialization can hinder you further. Not all guys, but I like that the Pirates are betting on those type of guys.
100%. Well, let's get into Connor Griffin. If you haven't already, go listen to episode 84 where Connor Griffin joined the show and we broke down all of his hit tools, his defense, and the development going into this year. But pretty much the book on him is superstar potential. It's just a matter of being able to develop this guy and get the most out of him. Is he going to be a shortstop? Is he going to be a center fielder? I think we both agree that it might project better in the outfield. The Just Baseball guy said maybe like a Brenton Doyle. If he's Brenton Doyle,
I'm happy.
I'm thrilled. Strong arm, fast, elite defender. The ceiling is whatever Connor wants it to be. I don't think there's going to be any issues with work ethic or him wanting it enough. This is a guy that's going to give you all that he can and then some. But we're going to go through some rough patches, right? Like there's going to be a development period where they work through the swing. You've already seen him make tons of adjustments in the last couple of months with the swing path and getting behind the ball and trying to utilize that build to get a little bit more power. But he needs in-game action. He needs pro looks. And I think once it all comes together, he could be a fast riser, but you're going to see him in Bradenton this year. And I'm excited to see him get a lot of work at shortstop. I'm excited to see him maybe get some work in the outfield, depending on how things are going. But he's everything that you want in a ball player. It's just going to be a matter of being patient and letting things develop.
I will say this. I was really, I was talking to him in our interview a couple episodes ago, episode 84. I was really impressed by him because I thought he's super mature, and I feel like he has a Bobby Witt projection in terms of not necessarily just as a shortstop, but like as this high school kid that is mature and comes from a good pedigree and that is going to reach stardom at some point. Like I'm bought in on Connor Griffin. I'm fully bought in. I'm really excited. And whether he develops as a shortstop or a center fielder, I think he's going to do both very well. We'll see. The hit tool is the biggest question mark right now, but he's got a lot of options. He's got a strong arm. He's fast. He's elite defender. A lot of pop. I think the sky's the limit for this kid. Let's go to number one, the finale. We've got Bubba Chandler, big surprise. It's the number one prospect on the Just Baseball top 15 prospect list. This guy has probably one of the best fastballs in the minor leagues. Elite changeup, plus slider, a solid curveball, and very solid command that has improved every year. I mean, he's got ace stuff. Like when he gets into the Pirates rotation, it's going to be Skeens, Bubba, and then Jarrett.
Yeah,
like that's the type of stuff that he has. Like he's going to have rookie of the year potential, like Paul did last year when he debuted. He had one of the best minor league seasons last year. He really impressed, from a prospect standpoint, and really improved. Probably one of the most improved prospects in the minor leagues. I'm excited for Bubba Chandler, man. We got to meet him at FanFest, and he is going to be a Pirate probably sooner rather than later.
He's a dog.
He's a dog.
That's what you meant. I mean, you got guys like Jared Jones, Paul Skeens, Thomas Harrington, Braxton Ashcraft. Like you got a bunch of dogs here. That's what it is. You got it's incredible to look at and say, like, man, like the future of this rotation could be set for the next 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not we could score runs for those guys is still up in the air. And that's where the frustration comes in, right? Where it's like you need to build around this because you might never have this opportunity. Forget Paul Skeens right now. We already know that. You got a Jared Jones who definitely is, I think, years ahead of what you thought it was going to be, or just in general, the talent level. You got a Thomas Harrington who has rose quickly. You got a Braxton Ashcraft, man. And then Bubba Chandler. Like it's a lot to dream on here, and it's very, very promising. I don't think you're going to be disappointed from what you see at the next level. I think the stuff obviously plays. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It will definitely play. He's definitely going to be a big call up this year. I'm excited for him. Before we end the prospect talk, I really want to talk about the other names to consider here that were brought up in the call up. Some other prospects outside the top 15. Like I said, I would have mentioned Johnny Severino in the top 15. This is a guy that has 16 home runs, 490 slug, and 84 minor league games. I think he'll probably reach Greensboro at some point this year. He's a big statured shortstop, probably long-term profile third base, but I think he's one of the best hitting prospects in the system. I'm going to run through these, and then you tell me if someone that sticks out to you, or maybe one or two guys to stick out to you for this coming year. Lefty reliever Jaden Woods out of University of Georgia. He reached Altoona last year. Lonnie White, Carlson Reed, Oxiel Plaz, Mitch Jebb. Oh, Yordani De Los Santos, Christian Curtis, and Billy Cook. Billy Cook's going to be on the big league roster, but out of those names, who's someone that sticks out to you?
Carlson Reed. I think Christian Curtis is there. The stuff is gross. If he's able to keep developing, we've had him on the show before. Go back and I don't know exactly what episode it is, but if you scroll back long enough, you'll just see it titled Christian Curtis. His story is absolutely incredible with the injuries that he's had to go through. So he's had a little bit of a funky start to a career, but if he's able to stay healthy and keep developing, he's absolutely disgusting. But Carlson Reed, man, as a reliever at West Virginia, and then to come and do what he did last year in Bradenton, and then again in a hitter-friendly park in Greensboro.
This is a guy that had a high, like a 6 ERA and couldn't find a strike zone in WVU as a reliever and came in as a starter in the Pirates system through 108 and 2/3 innings last year. Heavy fastball, it got him ground balls. I think the biggest thing for him is that, his overall strike rate was low. Like the command is still an issue, but that early contact that he induces is key. And if that's going to carry him through, if that's the case in AAA, I don't know. But I think he's obviously an arm that can probably pitch at the least as in a long man role.
100%. There's a lot of guys to dream on here, but we've been going for about an hour, Scott.
Yeah.
So highly encourage everybody to go over to justbaseball.com, check out this list. It's also on YouTube as well. And then you can obviously go listen to this on YouTube and listen to our breakdown of these top 15 prospects. We have some exciting news coming for next week. Dare I say, stay hot? Bucco, I don't know.
Bucco Bantr is hot right now. I will say that, but I feel like we always we plug this news and everyone's like, oh my God, what are they talking about now? Like they're always saying there's big news coming, but guess what? This is big news. Yeah. And there's more news coming. So just stay tuned.
On top of that news, there's more news top of the news.
There's news on news on news.
It's crazy. We would not joke around about this. We're super excited about what the next couple of weeks have, but just the future in general. We've had some pretty exciting conversations as of late that we can probably get into as time goes on and we get into the season here. But if you don't already, go follow us on all social media. Maybe we'll do a mailbag here. We've gotten some questions that have trickled in over the past couple of weeks on YouTube and on X and Instagram. If you got anything, if you're listening to this video right now and you got a question about one of these prospects, leave a comment, like the video, make sure you subscribe, tell a friend, and then tell that friend to go subscribe. If you're listening, leave a 5-star review, download the episode. That helps us out a ton. We appreciate all the support. And then go over to buccobantr.com, get all your merch. We're both wearing the hat today. I think Scott's got on a hoodie as well. I don't know if I've seen you take off a Bucco Bantr hoodie in the past.
I've got 2 of them and I wear them every day. So
yeah, they're comfortable. Why wouldn't you? It's -5 degrees outside.
It keeps me warm right now. You see this weather in Pittsburgh? It's crazy.
It's brutal. So go get your warm weather Bucco Bantr gear. We appreciate the support. We love you all. And until next time, raise it.
Raise it.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates, or the steak by the plates. And